refreshing, starting. What is up? Live stream. Hey, it looks like we're going here. What is up, you guys? My name is Justin Rivas. If you're watching this right now, you're probably watching the pre-recorded version of this after the fact. Just going to take a few minutes here to let everybody get online, and we're going to jump into the live stream. But if you're watching this after the fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in the comments below where you can jump ahead, where we get past kind of all this intro live stuff, but sometimes fun just saying hello to people, welcome them in before we get into the meat of the tech news. Tech news. Jeremy Padronis, what's up? Chava! I get so pumped when you guys come online and join the stream. Going to be following along here, saying hi to everybody. This is going to be fun. We're going to be talking about kind of three main things and then whatever else ends up coming up. Casey Neistat switched to the Panasonic GH5. He gave us a little bit of insight today into how he's liking it today. We're going to be talking about the new Sony A9, which was just announced, and I don't know, my take, your guys' take on it. And we're going to be tackling Panasonic's new incredible vlogging lens that I requested to get from Panasonic along with the camera to try out because I think it is that cool. Man, so many people coming on board. Let's just say hello here. Michael Mack has Daniel Karate Beauty present. Great to have you. Alex Escobar. Michael Mack. Dad's surviving divorce. I need a name, or you've probably given it to me before. I've forgotten it. It's no tack. Hey, the lazy Canadian. All right. I'm not that lazy, but that's funny. David Taylor made it for the first time. Welcome, David. Really appreciate it. Dwayne. His dad surviving divorce. Cool, Dwayne. Guys, welcome to the channel on this fine Sunday evening, you guys. Thanks for joining in, man. 20 people watching right now. Really appreciate it. Probably going to give another minute or two for a couple more people to hop on before we end up digging into this. If you're curious, because people are always asking a little bit about the tech of how I do this. So I've got my Sony A6500 with a fresh battery in it, plugged into a Teradek Video. It's just like this little box like this big that goes right on top of the camera. It goes in HDMI, Ethernet out, and it does all the broadcasting. It doesn't have to be connected to the computer. It is not the cheapest way to do this. If I was to do it again, I might look at just getting a capture card for a computer. You can get those, but it is really handy when we're out on location anywhere. And I've got a Facebook Live show I do with my business partner, Greg, and it's really handy to not have to worry about computers and things. So that part ends up being cool. Yannick Boise? There's probably a funny way to say that. Hello, Rav Holly. Southern California in the house. It's a little bit earlier there. Alex Escobar says, I made the switch to the A6500 2 weeks ago. I had the G85, and I do miss the flip-out screen, but I've got used to not having it. I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I've done a couple of vlogs with it now. What's nice about the A6500 is you can just trust that it's tracking your face. Now, if you were going to make your you wanted somebody else's face to be in focus. I don't know exactly how I would figure that out, but so far I'm okay without the flip-out screen. Again, it would be handy, but doesn't have it. Michael Mack, can you please start talking about the new Lumix lens? Yeah, we will get into that in very, very soon here. Jeremy Padronis, what time is it where you live? Just wondering. It is just after 8 o'clock, 8:08. And, the Washington Capitals just beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there are lots of Canadians who will be crushed. I'll cheer for a Canadian team, not a huge Leafs fan, but watch us, notice me. Chavez says, hey, I bought the A6500, was going to get the 16mm f2.8, but I think I saw your video saying it's not compatible with the A6500. I'm a little confused about that. Yes, the 16mm only works with contrast autofocus, which is so you don't get Sony's good focusing system just with the 16mm. If you go up to the 20mm, which is what this is, you can see that if I do this, it'll focus. And if I pull it away, it'll focus. It works good. And I looked for firmware updates and things. What I found was they said it's just not compatible with phase detection autofocus, which is annoying for the 16mm. So, David Taylor says, I'm still rocking the G7. Facial tracking is a huge deal for me since I have the luxury of shooting static stuff mostly. Guys, if you hear anything I say, it's that I love Panasonic so much. And in some ways, I'm hoping Panasonic hasn't been following along too closely, or they know that I'm being fair because I still want to get Panasonic gear from them and try it out and continue to use it because it's magical stuff, absolutely magical. I have a few things I just put in my request. I sent back some gear to them and I requested a list of a whole bunch of stuff. I'm hoping some stuff is free, but I doubt the GH5s are available, and this new Panasonic lens, I don't know when it'll be available. We're going to get into that. Michael Mack, what do you think of the new Canon 800D? I think like it's great from what I've seen. I haven't looked into it too in depth. It's very similar to like the 80D, and it's going to focus great. It's going to be a little bit bigger and heavier. It's not going to shoot 4K, but it's going to give you that classic Canon vlogging camera goodness, which will be great. So, A-Man145, do you have a Nikon and you're my favorite YouTuber? Thank you, A-Man145. If you have a name, pop it up on the screen. I came from full-frame Nikon gear. Guys, just so you know, if maybe this is encouraging to you, just over 2 years ago, I knew nothing about photography and certainly nothing about making videos, like at all. And I was just bored at home, or actually, you know what? I was at a friend's house and they were saying, like, I had like a digital SLR, a Canon, a T3i, and I was over at a friend's house. We bought it when we had kids. And he was like, do you have a 50mm 1.8 lens? I was like, I don't know. He's like, a nifty 50? I was like, He's like, I'm going to lend this to you. Try it out. You know, and so he lent it to me and he said, put in an aperture priority. And I did that. And it like blew my mind for how cool images were. Started a journey where I did that. I had that camera for a bit. And then I bought a 50mm myself, but then I got this great deal on this Nikon D7000 with a bunch of lenses for a great deal. Moved from that into like full frame Nikon gear with all like the fast 2.8 glass, and I loved it, but then I was getting more into video, and Nikon struggles on the video side. So in the end, I ended up, and I didn't want to do photo as much. I want to get more in the video. I switched to Panasonic. Did Panasonic for a long time, just switched to the Sony. That's where I'm here today. Up in the air. Still really cool. Yannick boys, damn, that's fast. My wife's in here. You're live on the live stream, Megan Rivas. Come say hi to, how many people we got here? We've got 32 people watching right now.
Hello, 32 people.
Are you coming?
To get cookies out of the freezer. So
cookies out of my freezer.
busted.
Say hi to Megan. This is my wife, Megan. Super cool. So, Jeremy Padronis, if Sony cameras implement the fully articulating screen, will it become the ultimate vlogging camera, or are there other things they need to improve as well? We'll chat about that in a minute when we get into Casey's GH5, or almost there. And Alex Escobar says, what lens do you recommend for photography on the A6500? I'm in the market for one. I just don't know what to get. Start with the, where's mine? It's around here somewhere. 50mm 1.8. It's like, in Canada, $399. It's probably just over $300 in the States. And it's the first lens you should start with, absolutely. Dwayne says, hi, Megan. She's gone. Okay, mister. Anyway, cool. Zafari Ramen says, I use a G7 with the Summilux 50mm f1.7. I love it. Do you have any recommended lens, Panasonic lens for portrait photography? So the 15mm 1.7 is my favorite Panasonic lens by far. I loved it so much. That was a great little lens. The size, contrast, colors, everything about it was great. Portrait lens, I mean the 42.5 1.7, unless you have a pile of cash, and then the Nocticron 42.5 1.2 is unbelievable. But the 42.5 1.7 is a great portrait lens for Panasonic without breaking the bank. So that would be good. I want cookies, Video Master says. Hello, Cookie Monster. I want cookies too. Why didn't I get cookies? What kind of cookies? We need details. My mom made like, you know, like Christmas sugar cookies with icing that you decorate. She made some of those for Easter, and they were pretty epic. Search for Awesome says, I literally just returned my GH5 yesterday. Incredible camera, but autofocus is a problem in 24 FPS. Really love Panasonic, but until their autofocus on point, can't use it. Thoughts on T7i? So one thing, Search for Awesome, is just make sure that if you haven't checked out yet Max Urev's channel, check him out. He spent about 45 minutes with Photo Joseph trying to find the best autofocus settings, and it seems like they got somewhere. Now, yes, I watched and saw that 60 frames per second is better autofocus than 24 frames per second. I was hoping that it's usable, but yeah, it's a little bit tough. Again, you guys, if you watch my vlogs, I made Panasonic's contrast auto detection, autofocusing work. It's just a little bit more work, and you got to play with it and fiddle with it and know how it's going to react, and use the front button to half focus, and obviously a little bit more work. So we're going to jump into tech news because we're not going to stay on here all night, and I appreciate there's 33 of you guys. I got 3 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down. Amazing, 3-1. You guys smash that like button if you're okay for me to keep going here. But we're going to talk a little bit about Casey's GH5, which he was just on today on YouTube talking about his GH5 and what he liked about it and why he made the switch. And I mean, The biggest reason why he switched, that he said, was the flip out screen, that he can't vlog without a flip out screen. And I mean, we know that's why he wears those glasses all the time, is so that he can constantly be looking beside the camera at the flip out screen without looking really awkward like I'm looking right now, because you guys can tell that I'm not looking at the screen. So, you know, that's a huge deal for him to be able to frame. And I think, too, in the place that he's at in his life where you get so many people recognizing and hopping his vlogs and things, he actually, like, it would be a problem if he was vlogging and someone behind him was going like, hey, and he couldn't see him because he didn't have the flip out screen, you know, so that's some of it too. And just framing, and there's all sorts of reasons why a flip out screen is awesome, but I know for me, I don't want to be the guy wearing sunglasses vlogging because, well, I've probably stolen 25 things from Casey Neistat. That's not one that I want to, like, the other time I have sunglasses on because it's bright out, but I don't intentionally wear them all the time. And so even with having a flip out screen, I can't stare at the flip out screen because I'm not wearing sunglasses and it looks awkward, or I could wear sunglasses. And anyway, I'm not pretending to be the biggest vlogger, but in some ways that's, I'm enjoying the A6500's lack of flip out screen because then I just don't worry about it as much, but there's a number of other things. If I had to pick, I would have a flip out screen though. But he said that he liked the mic jack placement, which on the GH series is a great spot. Even on the G7 it was good, but the G85 they kind of ruined the spot for that. The record button, this is something I've brought up before too on the Sony, where you can't hit the shutter button in movie mode and start the recording. And I think that's lame. You can do that on Panasonic, and people are saying, well, then you don't accidentally hit the record button. But never once did I ever accidentally press the shutter all the way down to hit the record button. And I haven't learned yet exactly where the record button is. It's tiny on this camera. I have to like get around it and be able to like hit record on there. So that's something there, but he liked that. I think he liked the touchscreen, you know, and there's so many things. I think the more he gets into Panasonic, he's just going to love a lot of things about it. He thought it was really hard to see the record on the screen, which is true, especially with the little menu. He said worse picture, worse in low light, and worse focusing. He said it's okay in bright daylight, which I agree. And when it's dark, yeah, the Panasonic system really struggles. So that's kind of where he's at with the GH5. I'm just going to check the comments. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Justin's mom cookie giveaway soon. That's funny. What budget monitor would you recommend for the A6500? The Neewer, Neewer, whatever that is, it's like probably $150 US. I might even throw it in the description below after this. That's what I'm buying. It's cheap, but I've talked to some professional video people who use it, and it's great, inexpensive. Daniel Crowdy Beauty says, are you using your Rode Video Mic Go with your A6500? When I'm vlogging, I do. I've got my Rode Video Mic Go with just a little extra wind sock on it. It's really windy around here. Honestly, you guys, when we're talking about vlogging microphones, so this is like $100, and I returned the first one because the first one wasn't, it had issues with the jack and would cut in and out. But the second one that I got, first thing I did, if you can see, is I just super glued it right on the end there. As soon as I took it out of the box, super glued that in. And this thing has been through hell and back. Like a couple hundred vlogs, just keeps ticking. I don't know if you can see here too. It's probably a little bit dark, but I've like super glued everywhere here because I ended up breaking the shock mount. And then, oh, I just broke it again. Well, it survived a whole bunch of other vlogs with me being able to super glue it together. Anyway, I think like as far as value goes for microphones, these are pretty awesome. Right now, I'm not using that. I've got a little pencil condenser overhead here. And ends up working out well. Fred Ranger, I use the C2 button for record button. Works great. That is a great tip, Fred Ranger. I might just do that because that's definitely easier to get at than that. Alex Escobar says, got the Rode Video Micro. Looks so good on the camera and it sounds amazing. I've heard lots of people talking good about the Rode Video Micro as a good option. Jeremy Padrona says, so on top of adding a fully articulating screen, what else could Sony do to make their line the best for videography vlogging, at least your case and scenario? So that's a great question. Basically take everything that Panasonic does, which I'm finding out in some other ways is it would be one thing to have a flip out screen, but I find Sony's touchscreen to be a little bit silly because like it only touches really for focus, but like you can't touch the menus. And I actually like being able to get at lots of stuff on the Panasonic, like especially when you talk about the flip-out screen. Well, it's nice because when you get the flip-out screen, you don't have to hit all the buttons on the back, which honestly, on the G7 and the G85, I am very fast without even looking at getting at all the buttons because I know them, but it's nice because you can even launch it, but then you can do everything else from the touchscreen while being able to see. Whereas a Sony, obviously, you'd have to go around behind, but even if they did have a flip-out screen, you couldn't touch any of the menu buttons, you'd have to like be working at that from you know, that would be horrible. So I think they need to get a better touchscreen system. You know, battery life, what I've found on Sony is in 1080p, the battery life is actually great. I did my entire last vlog on one battery, 1080p, no problem. And I think before I was really complaining about the battery life is I wasn't really remembering that lots of the times when I'm vlogging on my Panasonics, I'm not vlogging in 4K. I'm doing the 1080p and the batteries seem great. If I'm vlogging in 4K and it's a really heavy day on the Panasonics, I'll still go through 3 batteries, but that's a pretty intense vlog. I would say the Panasonic's probably twice as good, maybe not twice as good. But, you know, that's something else Sony is the battery life, which we're going to talk about the new A9, which they've introduced a much bigger battery that's going to go in there. So, you know, I think that would help Sony. Other than that, there's a few little features. One I really like about Panasonic, or the G7 and the G85 have it, is a limiter. I'm sure the GH5 has it too. And that's for your audio. And what that allows you to do is set the audio a little bit hotter in camera. And when you're about to peak, because you're being too loud, it just turns down the volume for you. And so what that means is when you're talking quiet, you can turn up the volume so it's louder. And then instead of getting too loud and clipping all the time, it kind of brings the audio down. It just compresses the audio. I'm finding I'm having to work the audio in the Sony a little bit harder. I haven't really pushed it to see if there's like a built-in limiter, but the things that I have seen so far doesn't make me think that there is that. And so it's just a little bit more post work in there. So the way they handle the audio on the Panasonic, I like that better. That's some of my thoughts here. Let's see here. Rav Holly says they are exact same in sound. He's talking about the Rode Video Micro and the Rode Video Mic Go. That's good to know. I wasn't sure physically because the Video Mic Go is a little bit longer, if it'd be a little bit more directional, but seems to be good. Yeah, some other people. I'm not saying it's the best sounding microphone in the world. You know, I've heard people shoot it out between, you know, even the Rode Video Mic Pro and some of the Sennheiser ones, and those ones sound better, but they're 4 times the price. So at the end of the day, how many people really notice the audio quality difference, especially in the ambient, so when you're out and about? I don't know that it's huge, and especially if you're on a limited budget, like me, I don't have unlimited budget, is you may be better to take that few $100s and invest it in, you know, a cooler lens or something else to help tell the story. Yeah, Jeremy Perdona says, I feel like they can learn a lot from popular channels who are using the products to get feedback to make better cameras for people using them. I don't think all of the camera companies understood even 12 months ago how much of an impact vlogging was going to have on the sales of their cameras. And I wonder when a guy like Casey Neistat says, hey, I'm switching to Sony, you know, it wasn't the reason that I switched to Sony, but it certainly helped, you know, that they probably go, whoa, Sony sales spiked there for a bit. And then they probably got a bunch of returns, and then GH5 sales spiked. But last point on the GH5, if I've been thinking about, like, hey, what am I going to do? You know, I'm not 100% sold on the A6500. I'm 90% sold on it. But part of me was like, oh, maybe I should just get a GH5. Because after I watched Max Yurov's long video where they got to some focusing settings that were working reasonably well, I thought, the only problem is a GH5 in Canada here is like almost $3,000, whereas the A6500 was like $1,750, so not quite half the price. And then the lenses are like kind of comparable in price too. The Panasonic Ultrawide's actually a little bit more money here. So it's not like it's just apples to apples. You have to have a lot of money to be able to afford gear like that. So that's just something I want to mention is not all of us can just go drop, I think in the US, over $2,000 on a body and then a whole bunch more money on the lenses. So it's a little bit tough. That's where Canons are great because like a T7i, I'm sure will just be magical for under $1,000. So here, trying to catch up the comments. Alex Escobar says, the only thing I hate about the Sony is that when you're shooting 4K to transfer files to a Mac computer is pretty much the headache. Do you just mean by like the size of the file and the amount of time that it takes? Or I haven't really had any issues. You got to dig through the folders a little bit to find your files, but then you just copy paste them and they seem to be good. Obviously like big files, but on a Mac, I hope you know, like in the folder structure where you can just see all the clips under the clip folder under there. But Jim Serrazio says Panasonic's A1 Action Cam Dead Cat fits great on the Rode Micro, and it's a quarter the size. That is a great tip. Cool to know. Jeremy Padron, guys, honestly, like, this is why I love doing these live streams, because there's like 40 of us now hanging out, sharing tips and tricks and advice, getting stuff started, and being able to get it into it. Shava Marquez says, would you spend up to $3,000 if Sony came out with the A7S2 full-frame camera with bigger battery and flip-out screen? This is a great question, and maybe I'll just briefly mention, Sony released their new A9 camera. This is like top-of-the-line, crazy spec camera. I'd say it's primarily for sports photographers who are hammering on, because it shoots 20 frames per second photos, full raw files, like 241 image buffer, so you can just like go crazy, which for sports shooters is going to be magical. That thing is going to take a bite out of Nikon and Canon's, top end shooters. It's got 5-axis image stabilization. It's got basically, like, I think 93% coverage. Like, the whole image sensor is covered in autofocus points. Like, it's going to be absolutely incredible, but it's like $5,000. I think it's $5,000, something like that. $5,000 to $5,500. A lot of money. So for me, am I going to pick it? No, that's still like way too much money. It doesn't have it. And honestly, for vlogging, wouldn't really do much of anything that this wouldn't do other than it has a big battery life, but, buy more batteries. But something like the A7, let's talk about the A7, potentially S3 or R2. So I have been thinking about maybe I should get an R2, A7 R2 instead of this for, full frame camera. The S2 right now is not a viable option because it doesn't have the good focusing system, even though it'd be better at lower light because it's got a smaller, big, full-frame sensor. But the A7R2, I've been thinking about, it's got the 5-axis image stabilization, it's got the great focusing, it's full frame. But the problem is, and even the question here is, it's $3,000 for the body, but then the lenses are all so much more money because you got to buy all the full-frame lenses, and they're a lot more expensive. And then you're kind of vlogging with this, like, up here in Canada, you probably be with the 16 to 35 ultra wide on a full frame body, you're easily up over $5,000 in a vlogging camera. And that ends up being a little bit crazy. So I don't know if I would vlog with it, but I can, like an A7S3 with the good focusing system, 5-axis, the same kind of big full frame sensor would just crush. It would be amazing. The Sony has a limiter, Alex Escobar says. Where it does, is this something you can like turn off or on? I'd love to be able to find that. Christian Enad says, I have an A6000 but plan to upgrade to the G85, so I've been watching your videos for the last few days. Good work. Thanks, Christian. I think you dropped a note before that you were binge watching. That's awesome. G85 it's such a smooth camera. Like, I think some other people were commenting about my last vlog that they missed the stabilization in the G85. I think they rate this A6500 at 2.5 stops of 5-axis inside or whatever it is. Like, and that's a rating of light, but it just kind of gives you a sense of how much it can cut out. I think the G85's 4. This new A9 is supposed to be 5 stops, so it should be a lot smoother. But this one I find in-body doesn't really do a whole lot, and then with the like rolling shutter issues that this one has, it's not nearly as smooth as something like the G85, especially when you got the ultra-wide or if you've got like the 12 to 35 2.8 on it with the in-body image stabilization. It's just like, it's so nice. So nice. Crushed Rockets. Apex makes a decent little mic. Aaron, what is up, buddy? I think I have seen that little Apex mic. I don't know if they have that in the States, though, because it's Yorkville brand here in Canada, but I'd be interested to try it out. David Taylor says, my cheap audio solution involves Neewer lav mics. Got 3 in a pack for $6 on Amazon. It sounds great. Only works because I have a Zoom H1 laying around. I also have a Zoom H1. I've been wanting to try out cheap lav mics because I love there's people out there who can try out all the expensive stuff, but I love the idea of taking things that aren't that expensive and making them work, so it ends up being fun. Alex Escobar says, Justin, stay with the Sony and get the GH5 later. My other plan, under the dome of silence, is, because I still have basically press access with Panasonic, is just keep rolling through Panasonic gear, whatever they have, until I run out of things to try and review, because, I want to keep that stuff around. So Panasonic has this new lens. Let's talk about this. The Panasonic HE0818, it's an 8 to 18 millimeter f2.824 aperture, meaning it's variable. At the widest end, it's 2.8, goes up to 4. Some exciting things people will be excited about is it takes filters, whereas the old 7 to 14 millimeter ultra wide angle lens, which is what Casey's using right now, I'm I don't know if you'll upgrade to this for filters, but you know, for lots of you guys, you like having like variable ND filters or different things to be able to knock back the light. And the 7 to 14 millimeter had the built-in flower hood. You couldn't put filters on it, so you'd have to rig something up that was really, really big. Really nice that this takes filters. This one is weatherproof. I mean, they say splash-proof, dust-proof, freeze-proof. It's Leica glass, and all the Leica glass I've tried, I've been like, really, really nice. Compared to the 7 to 14 millimeter, it's pretty much the same physically. Like it's 315 grams versus 300 grams on the 7 to 14. It's like a tiny, like 1/4 inch longer, something like that. The no image stabilization. I wish they would have done this. Like lots of camera manufacturers go, people don't need on ultra wides. But for video, can you imagine 5-axis image stabilization like a GH5 or a G85 plus an image stabilized 8 to 18 millimeter? Oh, that would be amazing. I've requested my copy from Panasonic to get it and test it out. I didn't know when they're actually being released. I just saw that they were actually finally on the website so I could check out some of the specs and be able to check them out. It was pretty cool. Jeremy Padrona says, how do you feel about Sony and Panasonic fanboys? I feel like the hardcore fans on either side fail to see that both sides are amazing options. I feel so much hate between the two audiences, you know. It's funny how we do get emotional about our equipment. And in some ways, like when I made the switch recently to Sony, I didn't want to feel like I'd made a mistake. And so it can be easy to try and justify why it is you did what you did, or really fall in love with gear. Like that's normal. And I think part of some people were saying that, hey, it sounds like in your videos you have buyer's remorse and you're just trying to convince yourself that you've made the right decision. And I think some of that actually came from, I have so much loyalty to Panasonic because I basically started my entire journey there and went from knowing nothing about video and did this whole vlog thing, which honestly has had a big impact on my life around my city and got named our city's first ever tourism ambassador. And the vlog was super cool and met tons of new people and launched my new company and did all sorts of things. And I feel like some of that's connected to Panasonic. And so like, I really want to love them and I do love them, but like I'm tied to them. So like moving away, like it felt hard because I really still love them. It's just, you know, a focusing issue, but yeah, it is annoying where people like use whatever tool, like it's just a tool. Like it's just a tool and you're being a tool if you think the tool defines anything about you. So yeah, it's a little bit sad, but people, they get super pumped up about sports teams and gear and, you know, lots of things that like, they don't actually really matter in life. But Rav Holly says 4K is such a pain to mess with. Is the quality really that epic at this point? No, it's not that epic, but I will tell you, it is a giant pain. The file sizes are huge, especially on Sony. You get these rolling shutter issues, worse battery life, overheating on the Sony. But when you execute it well, and I don't know if you guys have like a 4K device to actually watch this on, when I watch like stuff on 4K, like now you kind of notice the difference between 1080. Again, it's not the end of the world. In some ways, excuse me, I should just sit like another few feet back and I don't really notice the difference, but it's nice. I don't know if it's worth it at this point. Like it doesn't take away from the storytelling. It can be nice if you're a professional shooter, and even if you're planning to shoot 1080p, is shoot like 4K. Like my intro video, I was faking pans and some pushes and some other things because I shot it in 4K and you get a lot of extra data to work with. So that ends up being good. Fred Ranger says, are you talking about this monitor? Neewer NW759 7-inch 1280 by 800 IPS screen. Yes, if you're shooting Sony and you don't have a little selfie monitor, that Neewer monitor is like $150, or in Canada, I think it's $178 without a battery. You can pay a little bit more and get a whole kit. But it's a great way to monitor yourself. Comes highly recommended. I haven't tried it out yet. I'm going to get one, and I'll try it out if you want to wait for that. But from a video friend of mine, he recommended it, and he kind of knows what he's talking about, so I hope that it'll be good. Oh, Alex Escobar says, what I mean is Mac pretty much only shows MP4 files, and the way you can shoot MP4 is in 1080p. Yeah, so if you go into... Oh, I don't have a card plugged in here. It's just different in the folders where you can go and get it all the files. I mean, 4K editing takes way longer, so that part is definitely a pain. Crushed Rockets, 4,500 US, I think. Yeah. Sorry guys, I gotta skip ahead some of these comments because like I'm starting to fall behind here a little bit. Shava says, I asked a question about the A7S III because right now I have two bodies, A6500 G7. I would love to have everything I need in one camera, and I would spend the money to have an all-in-one camera. Yeah, and for me, like, I want to have all it in lenses. Like, I love lenses so much. And right now, I'm actually amazed I'm doing okay with 3 Sony lenses. I mean, I had the video of 10 Panasonic lenses. Now, they weren't all mine, but I think 6 or 7 of them were. And I love lenses being like different tools for different jobs and just let you, take care of your gas a little bit better, that gear acquisition syndrome. So, getting all on the same platform so you can use the same lenses is obviously really nice. Yeah, especially if you're into photography, getting a little bit bigger chip can help. If you guys see in here, you've got Crushed Rockets in here. I think Aaron's still in here. He's doing amazing photography with the GH4, and he has a really unique style where if you go Google them, where he's actually like using like the natural like grain and different things to like the advantage where it actually looks super cool. So I want to kind of like bash the photo side of the small sensor on that, but then I see what Aaron's doing there and I'm just like, he's doing a great job. So you can make anything work. And like he said, I sold my Canon T1i, wow, classic, a few months ago, which was my first camera ever, and it's completely useless, but it was hard to let it go, right? We're attached to our gear. Part of me like never wanted to sell any of my gear and just keep buying, but at the end of the day, that ends up becoming slightly impractical. Shava says, what laptop are you using? I'm using a new 15-inch MacBook Pro with the touch bar, which the only reason I got the touch bar is because on the new Macs, you get a much better video card with the touch bar one, and I want to be able to edit 4K on all one machine when my 13-inch died, so that's what I'm doing. Jeremy Padrona says, I was wondering if you ever go to any phototech video conventions like NAB or Photokina. Honestly, like, photo and video stuff is, like, it's just like a little hobby on the side. I would love to go to that stuff, and maybe there will be a day where this channel gets big enough that, a company like Sony or Panasonic or somebody would, help send me there, but I generate very little revenue off that, and even me, like, I'm not trying to shoot video or photography professionally. I just use it as a way of a little bit of storytelling, and then I also love, like, just sharing what I'm learning, and so, for example, I'm probably going to take an hour out of my Sunday night to just share anything I'm learning with you guys. And so, like, that's the aspects that I like. Whereas going to those conferences, like, I would love to nerd out and look at all the gear and go on the trip and do all that kind of stuff. But professionally, I work in the marketing and, like, new world, social media, tech. And so when I'm going to conferences, I'm usually going there because that's where my livelihood comes from. But I had somebody else email me and ask me if I was going to NAB, which I would love to, but not usually, but maybe soon. What else? What do you edit on PC-wise and software-wise? Christian says. So I had a PC. Actually, I have a PC. I just don't use it. It's a big desktop that I beefed out. And then I had a Mac laptop. And so I was using Premiere so that I could edit on both of those. But then my 13-inch MacBook Pro just died. Actually, it's fixed, waiting in an Apple store. I have to go get it. It's in a different city. And so I was just like, I'm just going to buy a single machine that I can do everything on, which is this nutted out 15-inch MacBook Pro, still using Premiere. I tried downloading the 30-day Final Cut Pro trial, but honestly, I love the magnetic timeline. There's some other things which I think I could learn around it, but I was taking big footage and I was trying to just like speed it up to make a time lapse, and it hung like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, well, I have to move on, so I haven't got back to it. So I just use Premiere to edit. Chava says, I remember when you had under 1,000 subscribers. I think you're doing great work. It was nice hanging out with you. I'm out. Thanks, Chava. Really appreciate it. It's crazy. We just cracked 3,000 subscribers. Rav Holly says, exactly. I could shoot 4K, but everything I shoot for YouTube is all 1080p. Peter, tech reviewer vlogging. Hi. Nice to see you. Yeah, most stuff I shoot is at 1080p because 4K is overkill for a lot of things. And I also like being able to dial in that 120 frames per second on this camera. Hold on, did I cover what we covered? So we talked a little bit about Casey switched to the GH5. Some of you guys are new and getting in here. He really just wanted a flip-out screen. He wasn't willing to vlog without a flip-out screen, so that's why he ditched the A6500, and I don't even know if he might be using the A7 in his studio for some of those shots, but lately I don't think so. Just been using the GH5. He complained about the focusing, especially in low light, that didn't work as well. He likes their touchscreen. He had a couple issues with the recording features. He liked the mic jack placement. He said it was worse picture, not as good in low light, and obviously the focusing stuff. So that's kind of his recap, but he said it's the best vlogging camera out there, in his mind until something else changes. And the only caveat there is if you happen to have that kind of money to spend on a vlogging camera. So he clearly does. But not all of us do, and even for me, if you missed his comment earlier, I was thinking about trading in the A6500 for a GH5, but then the math-wise, here in Canada, the GH5 is almost twice as much money as the A6500, so I was like, I can't afford it, so yeah. Anyway, and I love the focusing on this, and my last couple of vlogs have been pretty good. If the stabilization was a little bit better, I would be a little bit happier, but it's not quite there yet. We recap Panasonic's new 8 to 18 millimeter ultra wide, which is going to be the vlogging lens of choice for Panasonic users everywhere. I hope. I love ultra wide. So I've requested one from Panasonic. Hopefully they send that to me and I can give you more information about that. It's Leica glass. Should be nice. Same price right now as the 7 to 14 millimeter. Takes filters, weatherproof, going to be awesome. Sony A9 came out, which is crazy expensive. I don't know why any of us would ever touch it, aside from if you need to shoot sports photos. But otherwise, I think an A7R2, if you're that serious, is going to be great about that. Questions here. We'll do a little bit of Q&A, and then I think we will probably end it, because we've been live here for like 35 or so minutes. Man, 35 people still watching, though, which is cool. Rav Holly says, I have Premiere and Final Cut Pro 7 and Final Cut Pro 10, and I use iMovie to edit my vlogs, LOL. Honestly, whatever software works for you guys is what you should use. And don't worry about having big fancy software. It doesn't matter. Jeremy Padrona says, where do you go to research camera options? Any YouTube channels you recommend? Websites, blogs, vlogs? I guess where I've come to is I know what I want in a camera, so I actually love reading specs to find out what it's like. And then I go to YouTube typically and then try and search for other people who've used similar things. What's amazing is I think like where I've actually been able to grow a few thousand subscribers here is there wasn't like a lot of good Panasonic information or even really micro four thirds for video. And when I first got into it, I was, searching about lenses and trying to do that stuff, and I didn't find a ton of stuff. And I think there's a lot more now. Max Uriv's channel is great if you're a mirrorless video shooter. Other than that, I basically just Google and find whoever, and it's kind of like a little bit of a mixed bag of tricks depending who you do. I hear this guy, his name's Justin Rivas. He's great. Kidding, but I just Google it and then find typically, like digital photography or whatever the main sites are. Usually they do a good enough job for me to find out what it is. I like getting my hands on it, using it myself, and I'll return if I don't like it. So that works for me. Think Media TV is a camera gear review. You should check it out. Think Media TV could be good. Invisible Jiu-Jitsu says, been shooting stills of my friend's puppy today with the GH5 and the Leica Summilux 25mm f1.4. Very, very impressed. Another great lens. I'm telling you, Panasonic lenses are great, especially the Leica lenses. They're really, really nice. And the photos I have, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, it's quite a hodgepodge of just things from my life. But in there, you'll see a lot of photos from the G85 and the G7 over the last, year, almost. Yeah, last year. And it does a good job. Great job in photos. And again, I know professionals that are using it for photography. So that's good. Aman says, have you said Akil Nadendla? He is my bro. When you started, did you use iMovie? Yeah, the first videos I ever edited, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I did use iMovie, and I had no idea what I was doing. Zip zero, none. Sorry for butchering that name. I know it happened. Jeremy Perdonis, yeah, honestly, that's how I found you, researching Panasonic. It's destiny. Yeah, buddy. Crushed Rocket says, how flexible do you find Sony for colors? I know it's not your main concern, but I always seem to pick out Sony color, and it doesn't grab me right most of the time, but then sometimes it's amazing. Yeah, Aaron, I think you probably could shoot it flat enough that you could do what you wanted to. I haven't pushed it really hard yet. Even dialing into where I've come so far. Whenever I see my Panasonic footage coming out, I'm like, ooh, I like that better. But that could just be my inexperience between the two bodies. So, what's S-Log? I think that's the name for Sony's proper color one. I bet people could make it look amazing. It may not be quite as intuitive, or maybe it's a little bit more work, and that's why you don't typically see it, because we're not as smart as you. I'm sure you borrow my camera sometime. Aaron lives in the same city as me. And you should shoot something, and then we should see if we can make the colors pop. That'd be cool. Crushed Rockets, you guys, if you saw the video, it came out this winter. If you haven't, you should go watch it. Of me on my boosted board in the middle of winter, ice, snow, on a rink. I'm in full hockey equipment. Crushed Rockets shot it for me, so I edited because I was on the skateboard. But they missed my epic wipeout. Ah, Aaron. It's fine. Rav Hall, I just followed you on Instagram. Thank you. A-Man145. I've seen you before. I live in the same city as you, bro. Nice. Alex G. I just purchased, excuse me, Alex G. I just purchased the G85 with the 12mm, 60mm kit lens. If I had to get one more lens, which one would you recommend for food, video / vlog? 25mm 1.7 because it basically will cost you almost nothing. And you'll shoot most of your wide shots on the kit lens, but when you want to take that nice detailed shot of the the food or any of that stuff, you can shoot in much lower light with that 25mm 1.7, and it'll start to blur the background and make the food really pop and look awesome. So you don't even have to spend a lot of money. Get that lens and start learning on that. That's what I would say. Alex Escobar says, can you make a video showing how to extract those non-MP4 files on a Mac? Okay, well, here's what you're going to do in just 2 seconds so we can answer this is, 1 second, guys. Getting very practical here. Nobody drop out. This is only going to take 2 seconds, okay? Like 2 seconds or 3 seconds. Keep your comments flowing. And we will get back to them in a second. Okay, here's what you're going to do. Your memory card is going to come up, and instead of going to the DCIM folder, you're going to go to the private folder. And in there, you're going to go to the M4 root folder, and you're going to go to clip, and then all your files are in there. And then you can just grab them and drag them in like you would every other file. And that's as simple as it is. Hopefully that helps. So there is that. All right. Jeremy Padronis, Alex, I'd guess one of the 25mm ones, either f1.4 or 1.7. Yeah, if you got the budget, go for the 1.4. It's a lot more money, though. Crushed Rockets. Took me about a year to down the GH4, but it'd be fun to try it out. Absolutely, we should. And I think that's the other thing, too, I got to say, too, is the Sony, some of my early frustrations is like, because I'm going back and like, Panasonic, I just know where everything is and how everything works because you use it enough. You switch to something new and you sometimes think that the thing is the dumb. Coming back. Coming back. That was weird. Anyway, we're back. We're back. I don't know that we have a whole lot left. We lost like 20 subscribers. That happened to me last time in the middle of my YouTube thing. Annoying. Little box ducked out here. 23 watching now. Okay, you guys coming back. Rav Holly says, this is some bullshit. I feel like I just watched Super Bowl and they had technical difficulties in the final seconds. That's true. Anyway, I have to take a moment to say, you guys, like, I appreciate all of you guys tuning in and hanging out here. It is so cool. I appreciate all the love on the channel. I appreciate you guys liking the videos, watching the videos. I also really love feedback. So if you ever really want to help me out, if there's a video and you're like, this part was good, but I think it'd be better if you did this or this or this, I love that feedback. And I may not take every single piece, but if I've got 2 or 3 people saying the same thing, or honestly, sometimes people just like say things like, hey, the music's too loud. Oh, okay. I didn't really notice, but that's good feedback. And now I've been starting to turn down the David Cutter music by 3 decibels because he mixes hot. Hot, hot, hot. Anyway, follow me on Instagram, you guys. I love hanging out anytime. I'll answer any comments I can here in the questions below. Feel free to hit that like button if you haven't hit the like button yet. What else can I tell you? I think that's about it. It's been super cool hanging out on this Sunday night. You guys are super cool. I'm going to take the last little bits of questions, and then we're going to sign off because I saw a couple more. Jared Padronis, just a random question. What did you want to be when you were older, like when you were a kid? I'm one of those guys who has never honestly known what I want to be. Like, I think I wanted to be I was a kid that wanted to be famous someday. That's probably a lot of people, not everybody. But everything in my life, I've just kind of said yes to opportunities, and it's just worked out really, really well. And so I'm super blessed in that way. And thankful to big man upstairs watching out for me, I am sure. Rav Hall, I have to figure out this live broadcasting thing on YouTube. It is super cool, so you definitely should. Capture card. Look for a capture card. Daniel Karate Beauty, it's great that you will go into detail. The bigger YouTubers do a lot of telling and not much showing when it comes to tech and technique. Cool. Also, you guys, ideas for tech videos, make sure you drop those in the comments, or if you're like, hey, would you show us how to do this or how to do that? And somebody had said, hey, will you show us like shutter, aperture, white balance, like all those things. And so I made a series of videos, and I don't expect to get thousands and thousands of watches on them, but I see for like 100, 150, 200 people, I think they help. So if you have ideas for things, I'll like try and make more videos about things that you guys actually want to know about. So that is great. Jeremy Petronas, you made it. I wouldn't say I'm famous yet, but appreciate it. Dad surviving divorce. Did you ever use or think about using Wirecast for your streaming and switching instead of the box you're using? I really like this box because it's super easy, but I have been thinking about trying some other things, even for our Facebook Live show. Right now, at some point, I'd like to be able to add in a couple more cameras and bring up text more easily on the screen. Some other things, we're kind of like hacking our way through it. This was a box that was great for getting us started, and this week will be our 20th episode of our show. And I think we already hit like 250,000 views on it on Facebook, and some really neat stuff happening out of it. So I'm appreciative of the box, but it has its issues here or there. Isaac Curdy, hi. A9-145 followed you, done. I emailed you, and if you like gaming, get the Elgato Game Capture HD60. It's good. I've heard great things about the Elgato stuff. So, yeah, I really like that. What else? Isaac Curdy, hi-bye. Okay, yeah, cool. Links Broadcast, thanks for your time and insights from Vancouver. Hello, fellow Canadians trying to get out there this summer. We'll see if we did. Invisible Jiu-Jitsu, will you make a video about your YouTube live setup? I might. I've already, if you find my channel, there's like a video called like how to stream live to Facebook and YouTube, but it's Teradek, Teradek, Vidiu, Vidiu. I talk a little bit about the box that I'm using right here to be able to do this. And I wish I had a mirror right now. I'd just show it to you. It's just this little box. Teradek Video goes on top. Buy the Pro version, which is way too much money, but this one has issues. Pro one would be better. Michael Tapple, do you recommend using a gimbal? I've never owned a gimbal, so I can't really recommend it. I want a gimbal, but, for hundreds of dollars or whatever it is. I just haven't got one yet. For the style of video I do, I don't know, it's intensely practical, but I'd really like to have one. I've also wanted to start making more like films than just vlogs, so I think it'd be great. Calder, Lumix G7 good camera? Absolutely, it's a good camera. I did 150-ish videos with it, and I think the G7 is a great camera to start with. You will learn a ton, and it can make some amazing quality videos. So G7 is great. Cherry Petronas, thanks for live stream, man. Dad surviving divorce. I've been using Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini. Record on Thunderbolt. Works pretty good. I was checking that out the other day. It looks good. My throat is getting dry. I'm going to be done here. Tyler Berry says, I thought Casey used a Sony. He did for like 5 videos. So Casey did Canon for years and years. And then he hopped on the Sony bandwagon. But if you go check his channel today, he's just talking about how the last 4 or 5 vlogs. Basically, the day that I switched to Sony was the first day that, or maybe 2 days after, he started using Panasonic, which is funny, we did the flip-flop. He's using the GH5 for his last vlogs. And he talks about why. Flip-out screen, a few other things that he really likes about that. So he's back on Panasonic. Seems like he will be for the foreseeable future. Andre Kruger, would you like to be squashed by... No. Whoa. Timeout for you. I haven't put a couple people on timeout here. It's great. I think that's going to be about it, you guys. Sunday night, going to go hang out with my wife for a little bit. You guys are awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all your support. You guys are cool. That's it. Thank you. Stopping the live broadcast.